Alright, well, we're going to call this a good bad job. A customer of mine had somebody else put these exterior doors in. Somebody I worked for in the past, but you know, they're free to get someone else for different things, especially for timeline reasons, so no problems with that. However, they put old brick mold back around these doors, probably as a cost savings, and then they wrapped it with white trim coil that looks nice. They did the same thing on the other door here. Nice craftsmanship. It measures out the same all the way around. Corners are lapped correctly. Light use of little trim nails or siding nails. Caulked very cleanly. Overall looks real nice, except if you're ever putting in an exterior door, you're likely going to put, or at least think about, or somebody in the future may put a storm door on that, and the storm door hinge goes on the outside corner of whatever molding that you have in there. So if you've got brick, which is this profile, and the door side is over here and the outside's over there, and you flash up and over and down, you've got a 1/4 inch air gap underneath that aluminum. And if I come back with the outside corner for a storm door, which the whole weight of that door and the forces of using it every day and the wind catching it and everything else are applied to that corner. And if I'm bridging air gap underneath there with all the hardware, you're going to have major problems. It's going to deform and look like crap. It's not a meaningful connection. So you'd never clad brick molding without knowing that forever you're never going to want a storm door. And basically what you do is either put up new brick molding and paint it, or you put up plastic, which is what I do, so it's one and done. You don't ever have to come back. On top of that, this is a hole in the framing, just like any overhead door and any window. And so not only do you have house wrap that comes around and over here like this, you should fill these gaps from inside and out with window and door foam, which doesn't deform and create pressure like regular grate stuff, which will deform the jamb and make the door not work. That should be what's in here, not fiberglass. And then on top of that, once you trim it flush, you're going to flashing tape this so that it's completely weatherproof. And so the J-channel takes care of anything that lands on the siding and gets around in here and rolls down. But anything that goes between the J-channel and the brick mold, even if the brick mold is plastic, can't wick around and from top to bottom find its way back in and onto the wood framing, the sole plate, the subfloor, anything like that. Now that's not the case in here because this is a finished garage, so it's concrete in there. But it's still completely unacceptable for somebody to install this door, call this done, and cover it from the outside. And this is the stuff that's around to this day. So again, we'll clean the end of the jamb all up, take the old caulking off of there. We'll apply, ooh, got a little freaky here with this little nail. We'll take him out of there. We'll clean that all up. We'll put the right foam in there. We'll like flash tape this. And then we'll apply the PVC molding, and then we can put the storm door on, and then you've got a contemporary exterior door installation with attention to all the details and a functional storm door as well. And I'm lucky that I came right back and did this much for somebody here rather than it being 10 to 15 years later. And when you start to see water ingress and some indications of, you know, the baseboard getting a little moldy and stuff like that, the framing areas in the lower corners and stuff particularly are completely shot. Also, I use composite shims for doors and windows now. Nothing should ever be getting wet, but it's the same money, and they don't split, and they break off quick, and they're not made of wood, and they won't rot. And what are you doing? This is unfortunately good craftsmanship, but bad theory. Alright, we went to the store, we came back, we pumped some blue can window and door foam all around, and we dragged a nice fresh razor blade on the edge of the jamb to clean off all that white silicone and make ready for new materials and sealants. Well, the foam was flashing off. I've also picked up every single little piece of foam and aluminum and hardware. You don't ever want anybody driving on anything getting a flat tire. You don't want a homeowner or neighbors to have any of your debris blowing around their yards. All of that stuff is, you know, people see you looking legit in and out in a timely fashion, hustling, and there's no trash anywhere. You never know who might hire you to do something. Also, that's just keeping it together. Let's be honest. That's just being an adult, professional. While I was waiting for the foam to flash, I got out the 90-degree clamps, which just help me kind of control aspects here. To clamp this and to clamp that really doesn't help hold the miter together. It just allows me to slide these away, apply a little PVC glue, and then bring them back together and keep them sort of flush. Now these gloves have a plastic coating on them. If you have clamps that aren't just metal like these ones, they have plastic coating on them. That glue is a solvent, and it's designed to melt a lot of different types of plastic, and so you can end up imparting, you know, this black melted plastic. If I'd have had my gloves on, or whatever's on the clamps, you can impart that to the white. This is great to have a pre-finished forever trim material, but there's just something about trying to get it from the, half the time in the store they've already got marred surfaces, but trying to get it to the job site and get it up without marring it further is tough. Once I have them aligned, flush, and glue in there, I put a couple trim screws in. One, I just check my length. I like the ones that have thread at the back to pull the two pieces together tightly. It's reverse thread. So I just check my length and put something in at a 45 like this. And then another one, you can see there's two. The other one's just straight in like that. And that creates, you know, three-sided construction here. The glue I get everywhere, but on the face of things it can dry off on the clamps. Now we'll come back and we'll put flashing tape over that foam, and we'll go to basically where this trim's going to land on the edge of the jam. And so when I fill the inside corner with a little bead of white caulk and try to do as nice of a job, I will say the person that did the work here was a caulking all-star. So I'll take the flashing tape from here, basically a 2-inch strip. Brick mold is 2 inches. I'll start, there's like a witness, so I'll start and pull the tape down that, smooth it onto here, chase it into the inside corner, razor down through there super lightly, take the rest of it away, and hopefully end up with enough to do the other side, not that there isn't enough on the roll. And while I'm on the subject, this is house wrap, but it is not Tyvek. This is like a glorified tarp. You can see the HDPE kind of crosshatch on there. It's a plastic tarp. It's not Tyvek. It's not DuPont. It's not moisture barrier. It's not the same thing. A lot of that stuff that says Lowe's on it or is branded like from wherever you're buying it is house wrap, but it's not Tyvek. So I'm not a material scientist, but I know that for the most part, if I'm pulling wrap and putting it up, I make it industry leader material. Anyway, almost finished here. We'll see what it turns out like. Okay, well, we're inside now with those same storm doors. Just wanted to trim around because it hadn't been done by the previous person, and essentially the reason being the previous person did a quick and dirty job of covering the wall here with beadboard rather than drywall, because we're in what used to be the garage for this mudroom for this secret in-law suite that I plumbed last year or something. That's the Poop Shoot series. But you know, I couldn't just put trim on here because this beadboard stood proud of the edges of the jam, so we had to fur that out or pack it out, whatever you want to call it. I needed a 1/2 inch rip over here behind the hinge side, but it immediately practically goes to 1/4 right here, and then I used 1/4 inch, and I painted the 1/4 inch because that's what I thought I needed all the way around, and then I discovered I needed a whole 1/2 over here, and I didn't have enough material, so I had to go buy more. So then we got a 1/4 inch underneath this ranch molding here, all the way up, and all the way down, and all the way down, and then all of a sudden we pull out even further for whatever reason with this. And this is a case of somebody who doesn't realize the kind of error that they add when they're working, and they just round and round and round and round, metaphorically speaking, and finish all up and get all the way down to trimming and trim carpentry and stuff, which they hate, they'll tell you. And it's because they don't have the skills to start at the beginning of a project and make life easy for themselves when they get to the end to trim it. They've always got a project like this to trim because they don't realize they've likely framed the door opening without keeping the sole plate of the wall all one piece until the very end and cutting it out. People watch me do that and wonder, what's the deal with that? Can't you establish that the walls are planar without doing it that way? Yeah, but this person likely did that, and then you end up with a wall on this side of the door that's kicked over like that, and a wall that's kicked over like that, and if it's a tiny bit one way and a tiny bit the other, you got to immediately add the two of them together to get down to what kind of a problem that you've got, so you've doubled your issue. And now you've got me here making custom little rips of trim, of lattice, so that we can stick them behind there. See, I measured that, and this will go in there. And when I caulk, that's too much to caulk. But then I'll caulk right along, and then this will close in, and we'll paint that all out, and you'll never notice that that's there. But you're going to pay somebody like me that's got the skills to fix problems like this top dollar to fix them for you, instead of just having me do this whole thing from the beginning and doing it right so that trimming just goes right up and you're all done when you're done. All right, we're all done. New plastic brick molding, storm door installed correctly as per manufacturer specifications. Got a nice homogeneous gap all the way around. The action is sweet, can be adjusted there. It changes whether you're pushing a bubble against the closed interior door or not, but it works really nicely. These Anderson doors have got the roll away screen that I asked him to leave open so this can dry. I painted the outer side of the jamb, which allows me to carefully cut, I painted the whole jamb and the trim in here because we retrimmed this all with ranch and caulked that little pie piece all in to account for the bad job somebody did framing this wall, and went all along back here and got all of that. Over on the other door, I just painted the outside of the jamb. On this side of the gasket, even though I pulled the gasket out, those will come right out and then be put back in. I didn't paint the inside because I didn't want to have to go around hinges, etc., or the latch or anything. And really, this is the part that gets weather. But again, works nice. Gap is perfect all the way around. Had a weird factory blemish or something that came, a piece showed up like that with a bad corner, but it's right there on the top level. If somebody wants to get a replacement, I can put that up, or someone else can. The holes will line right up again, and the screws may be reused. So all in all, lots of farting around because the previous person didn't set up the final steps for success, whether they were going to do them or not. A lot of times if they know they're not going to be doing them, there's even less attention to making it, right for that. So I like to do everything that way. When I get to finishing it, I can put bows on stuff and it works out perfect. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you.